Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Market Snapshot series. My name is Rufas Kamau, Markets Analyst at FX Pesa. So feel welcome. Today, being Wednesday, we'll be looking at the key market announcements, key expectations for the day, and after these, we also look at the key price levels in various charts. We normally focus on the major currency pairs. We look at key commodities, gold and oil. And on top of that, we look at the top US equity indices. So that being mentioned, I'd like to begin with a mic test. So if you can hear me clearly, then kindly respond, and this will help me understand that everything is working just fine. So hello, Kevin. Hello, Heisenberg. Welcome to the session. What's your real name, Heisenberg? Hello, Patrick, Stanley, Samuel, and Tony. Welcome back, Tony. Haven't seen you here in a while. So let's get this going. The very first chart that you're looking at here is the chart of gold. So we had a lot of trouble trying to determine whether gold would eventually break the 1964.57 price level. So yesterday was quite a test. So from the very first candlestick in the morning, then later on in the afternoon, second, third, fourth, fifth, then 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 straight 1-hour candlesticks attempting to break that level, and none of them could cross above that level. So today early in the morning, first candlestick slightly broke that level. Second one rejected higher prices. Third and fourth have already rejected that price. And from that moment onwards, you can see the last 3 hours has been completely bearish for gold, which basically implies that that level held on very well, and it's time to think about some further downside. So from the 4-hour chart, this is how it looks like. So a very strong momentum upwards. This loses momentum over time. Eventually, the market makes a very sharp drop downwards. And now we are looking at a potential continuation of the original move. So some further downward pressure in the price of gold is expected for the rest of the day, especially considering the longer term trend, which has been continuously bearish. So it seems like a good idea to look for short selling positions for the rest of the day once we consider the performance of the dollar index, which was completely bullish yesterday, save for the afternoon, where the dollar started losing after testing Monday's high. So we can all see Monday's high here. So when the dollar index got to this level, failed to break, pulled back downwards, and now it seems that we are looking to test both Monday and Tuesday's high. So the dollar index seems pretty strong today. And this is very telling. So whenever we see some very strong dollar index, then we know how to play out the majors. So for pound USD, which has been majorly bullish, attempting to make a recovery against the dollar, based on the performance of the dollar this morning, there is a good chance we'll be seeing the pound USD press down further. However, the current price action is very telling. We can't just ignore this particular candlestick. It's usually a very nice signal to go long. However, based on the most recent highs, they are not very promising. So from Monday and Tuesday high, they are getting lower. And of course, the previous high is also higher. So high, then another high which is lower, another one which is lower, which is clearly indicative of some form of triangle where the market is forming lower highs and of course higher lows. So in this case, we might be expecting some kind of breakout to be happening later in the day. So as for now, if I zoom out this one to a 4-hour chart, it's clearly a major swing downwards, which found support here. Then the market makes another swing upwards, found resistance here, a swing down, and now since then, we can't comprehensively say that this market is trending in any particular direction. So if I were to use any means to, let's say, try and plot this chart, I would say what we are experiencing here is in the form of a triangle. So market makes a swing down, a swing up, down, and now it makes more sense. Think of this consolidation as a potential play where you would go for a breakout when the market either breaks the upper side of the triangle or even to the lower side of the triangle. So from what we are seeing happening with the dollar index, then my bet would be on the lower side, but it's a wait and see kind of scenario. So I don't know the outcome or what the market will do. I only try to project based on what I see. And in this case, a break above this level would make more sense. So that's a 15-minute chart. So as for Euro USD, 4-hour chart, strong bearish momentum. So 1-hour chart, you can see the big swing that happened last week. Then on Friday downwards, Monday upwards, Tuesday downwards. And today, it seems like the market is attempting to push further back downwards. But the last one candlestick is not very helpful. Remember, the thesis yesterday is a speculation that the euro would continue losing to the dollar and eventually get to last week's low of 1.06346. So as for now, the market is making an attempt to push further upwards, but from the 15-minute chart, it's yet another triangle. So this is what we are seeing on the chart. So most recent swing, Monday high, Tuesday high, Monday low, and now the chart seems to be trading like this. So if I was to zoom this, it's a swing up, swing down, swing up, swing down, and now we are moving back upwards. But judging from what I'm seeing here with the dollar index being pretty strong, then I would be betting on a stronger dollar. So there is a good chance we'll be looking for a breakout and perhaps even a bounce from the upper trend line. So for USDCAD, I remember mentioning this yesterday, that yes, on one hand, we had a pretty nice bottom. This was a pretty good bounce from this particular support level. So the support that held on very well at 1.34078. It's also a psychological level, 1.34000. So from there, you can see the market attempting to bounce. But then on the upper side, we mentioned that there's this particular resistance that would be holding on here. So when the market went up yesterday, it eventually got to this resistance and immediately turned back downwards. And now we are officially in an area where we can say that this chart is literally not going anywhere. And with that in mind, it basically makes sense to look for a breakout. So in this case, we know that we're expecting some major news in Canada, and that's basically the interest rate decision. So either a breakout or a break downwards. But of course, in this case, if we are having the news announcement, then the breakout would be very important to trade the breakout. USDJPY also in some form of consolidation. So after forming this double top pattern, went down very well and then made a recovery and then back up, down, up, down. And now if I remove my accumulated buyers, then it's time to relook this chart and try to understand what is currently happening. So after some time, it's very important that you remove all trend lines from the chart and try to chart or understand your trend lines again. So in this case, I would say this is pretty solid. We can say the market is forming some resistance along this path. And on the lower side, I could say that this is now very solid. And now we know how this plays out. So USDJPY is trading in a triangle, also a consolidation, up, down, and we just bounced from the lower trend line. So this area makes sense, especially considering the strong dollar and weak JPY. We could be seeing the USDJPY continue to rally up to the upper trend line. So 140.16 might be a nice target for USDJPY currency pair. So for AUD-USD, clearly also consolidating. So this week, I wouldn't say it has been pretty trending. What we are seeing is a lot of consolidations. So to some traders, this is bad. And to some other traders, this is awesome because they look for breakouts. Others choose to trade within these consolidations. So this is not a very big chart. It's a 5-minute chart. So if you go to the 15-minute chart, then this is what we are having here. So our market makes a big jump upwards as a result of the central bank surprisingly raising interest rates, pulls back for the rest of the day, and then continues and crosses on a high. And then today we are in this particular wedge, and eventually I would be looking for a breakout to the upper side. So US 500 also in a consolidation zone. So remember last morning or yesterday in the morning, we saw the market basically consolidating, not making much of a movement. So this seems to be a thing now. And from the upper side, clearly, now we have this. So it's a market that is basically trading within a flag. So the original move being the price action of last week, basically implies that we formed a flagpole here. So if these are flagpole here, then the flag is being defined by these two trend lines, and the market is just oscillating between the two. So on the short run, intraday trading, we might want to focus on the lower trend line. That is the S&P 500 dropping back down to the lower trend line, but a breakout would make more sense, especially for a price action trader. So it's the same case for the NASDAQ. So I know Heisenberg, you had already requested that we check on this. So clearing, this is a very short-term time frame. So clearly, if we ignore the long tail from this candlestick yesterday, then this is the price action we are having. So it makes more sense to trade once we happen to see a breakout. So from the 1 hour chart, this is how it looks like. So our flag, I would say, started from the bottom of the move all the way up. But since then, it's just consolidations happening over and over. So I would say that we monitor these highs, maybe from the most recent high moving downwards, which makes it very similar to what we would describe as a falling wedge. So from this price action, then any kind of break would be very impactful. So I would be very patient waiting for a break to identify a potential trade direction. So as for Brent oil, started the week on a crazy move, big jump upwards, traded inside a triangle. So I remember mentioning this. Eventually we had a break. So yesterday was a very sharp drop. But then after the drop, we can see the market going back to retest the trend line and then pushing further back downwards. So now, if we remove all these accumulated buyers or accumulated trend lines and noise in my chart, then this is basically what I have. So a chart that formed a high here, then upon forming the high, has been moving back downwards. So this seems like the natural resistance in this chart. And of course, if you zoom out, you notice that there's also another trend line extending from the bottom, moving upwards, and we are currently at an intersection point. So from here, we are seeing the market make a strong bounce, but the upside is still quite limited. So, well, we expect the market to only get to the upper trend line. These could get thinner and thinner, and then potentially a breakout. So what I would be observing or looking for here is a breakout to the upper side, and of course, a breakout to the lower side. So we don't know what will happen, but once it plays out, then we'll know the direction to take. So it's a pretty tricky market, but once the breakouts happen, then we will have a lot of trading opportunities. So now that I've mentioned some of the top charts, it's time to look at the economic calendar and see what we're expecting for the day. So from the calendar, there's quite a number of things that have happened early this morning. So first things first, we had a speech from BOJ Governor Ueda. He basically mentioned that going forward, they have not changed the policy. Their goal is still to move out, control inflation back to the 1 to 3% target. So far, they haven't achieved that goal, and this basically explains why they went for a 25 basis point hike, thereby surprising the markets from 3.85% to 4.1%. So we also had GDP data coming up from Australia. So GDP slowed down to 0.2%. So this was a big surprise in the markets. The Australian economy has been pretty strong. So if you look at the most recent quarters and how they have been performing, they have well averaged around 0.6%. So with that kind of average, then it basically means that we are seeing the Australian economy weakening. And this is in line with the central bank's expectations. So the central bank has been looking to slow down the economy so that prices can stabilize. And in that case, they wouldn't go for another rate hike. So in this case, it's a positive for the RBA or for the Reserve Bank of Australia. So in this case, they may not be looking to go for another rate hike. So as a result of this, we saw a reaction in the market. So early in the morning, if you look at USD, you notice the reaction of the Australian dollar. So after the announcement of the news, you can see that it was a drop back downwards. So though it's still maintaining this level here, then it makes more sense to be quite patient up until we see some form of breakout happening in the charts. So besides that, we had quite a number of news. Chinese trade balance slowing down from a previous reading of 618 billion to 452 billion. And also US denominated trade balance, 90.2 billion the previous month, down to 65.8 billion, which is basically indicating that the optimism about Chinese recovery is really slowing down, and we could be entering pessimism territory. So what this basically implies is a lower demand for oil, and with lower demand for oil basically implies lower prices. So from our previous analysis on our Brent oil performance, then there is a good chance that the breakout will actually happen on the lower side. So a breakout to the lower side would make more sense here based on this morning's Chinese news. So a breakout here would basically mean you go for a short selling trade with a stop loss just above the upper trend line. So that is something to watch out for the day. So the most important news for the day will be the Bank of Canada rate statement as well as overnight rates. So there's an overall expectation that the Bank of Canada will not change interest rates, but rather it will maintain the same level at 4.50%. However, the surprises are always there to be found. So we don't know whether the Bank of Canada will surprise the markets. So we have to wait until the announcement. So when this happens and the Bank of Canada maintains the same rates, then this is supposed to be quite weakening for the Canadian dollar, since we know that the currencies have been strengthening with further tightening. But if the central bank has ended the tightening cycle, then it basically means that this is in preparation for rate cuts later in the year. So this is supposed to be quite weakening for Canadian dollar. So if you look at the USDCAD currency pair, then we know that the consolidation could eventually break. So we already looked at this, and with this happening, then a breakout to the upper side would make more sense. And this is as a result of the US dollar strengthening against the Canadian dollar. And this is if the Bank of Canada maintains rates at the same level. So there will be a follow-up rate statement. So if the rate statement projects that the Bank of Canada is looking, let's say, to do rate cuts, and it seems more hawkish, then the upside potential could be something to figure out, and maybe a very strong trading opportunity. So we have to be aware of that eventuality. So besides this, I don't think there is any other meaningful news. Of course, there is crude oil inventories in the US at 5:30 p.m. This could cause some volatility in oil prices. So remember, these are weekly data point, so it's usually not having a big impact. But if there's a big change here from 4.5 million to a smaller amount number, or even a bigger one, then we could be seeing some volatility. And as we head into tomorrow before the session, we will be seeing manufacturing sales for New Zealand, RICS house price balance in the UK, and a host of Japanese data. This ranges for BRICS house price balance, from bank lending in Japan, current account, which is a difference between exports and imports, final GDP price index year over year, final GDP quarter over quarter for Japan. So all the 4 data points, even though each data point individually is low impact, I expect some high impact to come as a result of the 4 different news announcements. And of course, the unemployment claims in the US will be a major thing tomorrow. A speech from SNB Chairman Jordan. This will also be a thing. Final wholesale inventories for the US. This will also be a thing that could cause volatility in the markets. And that will be it for Thursday before we look at CPI data for China on Friday at 4:30 a.m. And of course, jobs data for Canada at 3:30 p.m. So that being mentioned, there's also the trending thing happening in the crypto space. So we know that the SEC earlier in the week announced that it's basically suing Binance and its CEO, CZ, or Changpeng Zhao. And of course, this eventually led to another kind of lawsuit upon Coinbase, which is a publicly listed company in the US. So there is a good chance we'll be seeing a lot of volatility in Coinbase shares today. And at the same time, we will be seeing more volatility happening in the crypto space. So from the crypto space, we saw Bitcoin being very resilient yesterday. So after having dropped to about 25K early in the day yesterday, so it made a recovery, and this morning had already touched 27K. So it's the Bitcoin price being very resilient, showing the confidence that people have in the markets in this particular cryptocurrency. So it's up 4% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum has also made some good recovery, whereas Binance as a coin has really lost. So it's down 0.0% in the last 24 hours, but in the last 1 week, it's down 9.82%. So other cryptocurrencies seem to be still having some negative performance for the day. So it seems like a bearish day for major cryptocurrencies, with the top two showing some good resilience and doing quite well. So that's it for the day. I'll be looking at the questions, try to answer them as we approach the end of the stream. Bitcoin, which direction are we headed? Please check it out. So I think for Bitcoin, it has been one of the most resilient cryptocurrencies this year. So of course, the direction is up. So for now, we might see some short-term volatility indicating some downside, but the fact that over 68% of Bitcoin holders have not sold since the same date last year basically means that there is a lot of confidence in the asset. So even though we could be seeing some price volatility, the longer term outlook is that Bitcoin will be doing well at the end of the year. And of course, when you focus on the correlation between Bitcoin and US equities, especially the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, we know both equity indices are still trading high. So the correlation seems to be working just fine. So we could be seeing some further upside in Bitcoin prices. Please pass by gold again. I think I've already done that. So apologies if you are late to the session. So kindly do this immediately after I end the session. Just track back to the same video, and you'll be able to look at the analysis again. You can replay it, and this will be live immediately after I end the stream. So thank you very much, guys, and I hope to see you on the next session. And of course, for those asking about crypto, we know that we have crypto products with FX. So you just have to log into your MT5 and then check out the various opportunities available for trading.